Okay, almost 2 years after he was accused of sexual misconduct, Louis C.K. is performing sold-out shows in Toronto. And according to reports, he opens with jokes about his life after the scandal broke. So the question is it too soon for Louis C.K. to return?
I mean, I guess my opinion is not going to be a popular one amongst this crowd, but I think it is enough time for him to come back. It's been about 2 years since the allegations, and he did, right out of the gate, admitted to all of the accusations. He did apologize. He went on to lose about $35 million in, like, between the movie that got canceled and his show that got canceled and all of his tour dates. And I mean, here's the question, and this is the question that we need to continue to have conversations about, which is like, what happens after these Me Too allegations? Is there any room for redemption? And I think in the case of Louis C.K., I mean, if you don't want to see him redeemed, then don't go see his show. But if you do, and you feel like, I'm curious, I'm gonna be honest, I'm curious. I wanna see what he does. I was a huge fan beforehand, full disclosure. I liked his nebbish, weird, insecure kind of comedy. I liked the fact that it was kind of, to me, he laid bare all of his issues all the time. And while I think what he did was terrible, and I'm curious to see how he weaves, he's an artist at heart, comedians are artists, and I'm curious to see how he weaves this narrative into it, and that for me will be the determining factor.
And that is
how he
coming out. It is coming out because even though there's a full cell phone image ban, if you go to a show, it's like you practically have to check your phone at the door.
But
it's
that's
kind of like that. It's typical,
very typical.
But the stories of what his show is today, it's still getting out there. And P.S., 5 sold-out shows. This is not a joke. So it does matter because his message post Me Too is getting out there. And apparently there are no more apologies in the show. What we hear him say is off the top of the show that this happened to me, and that the messaging is to mostly the men in the audience, because it is mostly male audiences that are coming to the shows, is that I hope your thing doesn't get out into the public. That is the line that was quoted in the show, from the show. That, I'm telling you that I'm taking that out of context because I don't know what else he says before and after that, but that is one line that has been pulled out. So that doesn't sound very apologetic to me, and I think that's the question. What worries me is, like, is it time for a comeback, not time for a comeback? He's made a comeback. He's selling out shows. We're past that discussion. What I'm now looking at is, he wasn't criminally charged with anything. This is not a Harvey Weinstein case, right? Let's just differentiate. And we've had discussions with people like Robin Doolittle on the show. She was on last week. She has that great new book called Had It Coming, and all of the idea of what happens after Me Too. And he was not criminally charged.
He was not.
So the question now is, what is he allowed to do? And what is the roadmap to redemption? And he seems to be telling us that, well, just kind of be yourself, and just be like, so what?
Well,
this is what happened to me,
it's
so
nice,
what?
It's nice that he can do that, right? Louis C.K. feels that he deserves a second chance, and, you know, people are offering jobs, so he can do so. He can now ply his craft. I wondered what happened to the women who came forward and whether they got a second chance, and so I went looking to see, and there were a couple of pieces written, and it was really, really interesting. One woman, a female comedian, said she got death threats when she came forward.
Rebecca Corey.
Yep, she got death threats. 2 other women said, you know what? Louis C.K.'s agent is really powerful. He represents people other than C.K. Kevin Hart. He represents Amy Poehler, I believe, and others. And that agent reached out to their representative and said, these people need to cease and desist. So they feel that they are now out of jobs and not getting work because of all of this. So the women who came forward aren't getting a second chance. They have very much been thwarted in their career aspirations, and so I wonder, you know, what's fair here?
But isn't market, like, I mean, again, I don't mean, and I'm fully willing for people to come for me, but, like, I think here's the thing. We all don't know. Does everyone remember what he was accused of doing? Okay, so it was not a nice thing. He decided to pull out his parts and pleasure himself in front of comedians. And at one point in time in his career, Sarah Silverman has come forward, who's a fellow comedian, and she said she would often do this. This was like a thing for him. And she would be like, on occasion, she would be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, do it. I want to sit there and watch this. I think this is hilarious. And other times she would say, no, put it away, let's have a pizza. This is like literally, I'm pretty much quoting her. And so I think this is somebody who, again, his insecurities have been laid bare. He came into a lot of power, obviously didn't fully recognize his power. These are not excuses, it's just framework. And so he definitely misused that power and made women feel uncomfortable. That is not cool. That is definitely something
And
that
they say they're not working
but
the way
thing
they
is
should be working.
But they could be. Like I don't know enough
like,
about
I
these
hear
women.
what you're saying.
Can't they work? And,
No.
and if you want to go see these women, if these women are coming into town, I'll go see them.
No,
I'm interested in their comedy.
The comedy structure doesn't work like that. In many workplace environments, when we talk about sexual harassment, it's not necessarily the scars you can see, it's the scars you can't see that are a result of sexual harassment. I'm with you. I think it's a very confusing time when we're talking about Me Too, about how to adjudicate and what the solutions are. But I will say, along with Marcy's argument there, a lot of the women who reported initially, and I'm not talking about 2016, but two of the women, Dana Goodman and Julia Wolof, they reported in 2002. They came forward with their allegations, and what happened was that Dave Becky, his manager, who's very powerful, shut them down and had them blackballed. So if you're at the beginning of your comedy career, 2002, and you're working and you get blacklisted in the business, and then they say they had to turn down 16 opportunities at least working on other comedy projects, that is a derailment of a career. That's just not like, oh, I was embarrassed and it made me feel comfortable. That is a type of scar. It's a career and a professional scar, and it leaves a trauma that is akin, many people would argue, to a physical scar because it has changed the trajectory of your life. And so when we measure compensation, how do we compensate someone whose life has been derailed, whose dreams have been derailed?
You're right, and
He
he's still a
should be-
multimillionaire.
he should be doing something
But
for
hold
that.
on a second. Are we letting some people off the hook that should be not let off the hook? Why are there still droves of mostly men supporting this man's career? There's one thing about him putting on a show, but like, hold up here. If in his mind he's apologized and he feels like he's moved on, that means mounds.
But Mel, I think it goes back to what we were saying about what kind of scars people notice.
Sure.
If you talk about sexual harassment,
I'm not talking about. I
they
actually
think
agree.
that.
No, I fully agree with that.
people don't appreciate what these women went through.
100%, but that's what I'm saying. I think the onus has to be put on the buyer. We are the people who make these people celebrities. We make them rich.
And that goes back to
Right?
We're saying the same thing. Ultimately, I do think you let the market decide. And if he still has an audience, then he still has an audience. And the thing is that I just think we have
but
to...
the market is based on patriarchy and misogyny, so the market is always going to support men who have succeeded after all. Like,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think that we have to have the post-conversation, post-Me Too. And I think it's arguable, and I'm sure people will come for me, that not all of these allegations are exactly the same.
We agree
That
there.
what happened with Bill Cosby is not exactly the same as what happened with Harvey Weinstein, is not exactly the same with what happened to Aziz Ansari. And yet, probably right out the gate, there's been a brush. And so we need to start having more complicated, nuanced conversations about what these individual cases look like, what apologies look like, what perhaps compensation looks like. I mean, and if he can manage to elevate these women's careers now going forward, Louis C.K., if you're in town, he should be thinking about doing that. But he should be thinking about doing that for
He
sure.
sold out 5 shows.
And I
He
think
doesn't care.
the question...
But not only did he sold out 5 shows, every single show he is doing, he is getting 15-minute standing ovations. That, I have to say that because that is on us as an audience. We can't just point the finger at other people. We have to say, what are we thinking? What are we doing with our money? Who are we supporting? How are we using our money to speak? We are to blame too, partially in who we are holding up. And that could be very wrong. Our money speaks.
I would like him to start a comedy training troupe for all these women, or at least he's done nothing of the sort.
Because he has to feel that he's done something wrong. That's the thing.
I think he feels like he did something wrong, but you're right. The proof will be in what happens next. And if it is true, things get taken out of context. Dave Chappelle recently, you and I were talking about this. He has a piece, a new stand-up. There's been a lot of criticism around that. And for some, like, I think there's some good reason to criticize some of the things that come up in that. But these are comedians who are trying to test new ideas, and sometimes they fly and sometimes they don't. He's gonna come forward, and I'm curious to see, will there be a special that ends up on Crave, on Netflix, on any of those things? What will those things look like, and how will this apology look, and what is he doing in his real life?
Nothing.
Those will be the main questions that we need to analyze in order to let somebody either be permanently canceled or allow them to re-emerge back into the world.
It's not allowing. He's been allowed, and he's still making millions. That's the sad, very sad part.
He took a
of the story.
timeout.
He took a timeout.
He took a timeout.
Yeah.